Thank you for joining us. We're back at it with our how to stay positive and staying positive as we collaborate through these times, through the new times as now I'm calling it. And my name is Anuschka. I'm an empowerment health coach and energy healer.
And I am Samar Tehrani. I'm an addictionologist and I practice out of Virginia.
We're super excited to begin these again. The last couple weeks we were dealing with our life, right? So now we're back at it, and today's topic is the 5 love languages. It's something that I've actually been, I've taken the quiz multiple times. I haven't actually read the book, but I've taken the quiz multiple times. And I wanted to actually share around that because it's every time it's different. So it's interesting. But really talking about how do we each give and receive love, because it is different for each individual.
And I've never taken this quiz, so I really don't know. I mean, I'm very familiar with the book. I'm familiar with the concepts, but I've never taken the quiz.
And we both committed that we're going to take the quiz at some point later today. I always like taking it at different times in my life because what I notice is it really, for me in particular, I don't know, some people might have a very strong love language. I'm just overall a bubbly, full of love type of person. So I feel like all of them resonate with me. And what I've noticed is the ones that are missing in my life are usually the ones that end up showing up as like the first or second when I do take the quiz at that point in my life. So I'd be curious right now to actually take them and see. So for those that haven't taken the quiz or aren't familiar with it, that was the whole point of this. We wanted to actually talk more about it. And I know you want to mention the book because I know you actually know the name and whatnot.
Yeah. So this is the work of Dr. Gary Chapman, and Discover Your Love Language is basically, I believe it's like 5lovelanguages.com is his website.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when the book came out, and it just, because it quickly became a bestseller, that's where I remember it from. So I read some articles on it and such. And it's called the 5 love languages.
And then it's the number 5, by the way. So if you're looking it up on the URL, it's 5, the number 5, and then lovelanguages.com. Yes.
Right.
Oh, and then the quizzes, I'm sure there's like a way to get there, but from the URL itself, but /quizzes is where you actually can take the quiz itself. Yeah, from what I remember, I want to say it's like 15 minutes long. I really can't. It's been a while since I've taken it, so I can't give you that. But let's talk about the love languages.
So, and then the quizzes, they're kind of interesting because it's like for couples, for teens, for children, and for singles. So it has quizzes for different age groups and such.
And speaking of that, I actually was going to also share that I noticed my love languages are different when it comes to romantic, right, with my husband versus with my friends and family. So that's also, which I love that they have those options because it is going to be different. Like sometimes I know for a fact my love language with friends and family is gifts. That's my number one. And that to me, I'm like very clear. I'm very much, I love to be unique with my gifts. I love to get something that's very touches people's hearts. I like it when they open the gifts in front of me because I want to see that face. That to me is so fulfilling. So I know that.
Gonna get me a gift next time I'm in.
Yes, I am. I already know. See, I already have ideas of what I want to get you. So. Oh, well, that's awesome. And that's a key too, by the way, when it comes to love, you've got to be open to giving and receiving as a balance. And
that's absolutely.
And an equal amount, right? You can't be like, oh, I'm left to give that I won't receive, or vice versa, because then it's out of balance.
Right. And some people are very good givers, but they don't know how to receive. And then some people are receivers, but they don't know how to give. Yep. And I believe that in this book, he really addresses that. So
yeah, and that is very important to stay in balance. So yeah, So the different ones that I'll share them and then we can actually talk about them and see if anybody has questions as well. But the 5 are words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time. I can't do the and acts of service. So those are the 5 different ones. And I have like a really cool image that actually says how to communicate with them. And I found a website outside of the 5 love languages that actually shares a little bit more about it too. And I'm sure it's just from the book itself and somebody wrote about it. But words of affirmation. So just words of affirmation, right? Giving compliments, saying what's on your mind about the other person, letting them know how great they look or how hot they are, how sexy you feel like your partner is. So these are all words of affirmation. And I know that is one of mine for sure. Like that's one of the top ones that usually comes up. For me, that's huge for both romantically and with friends and family.
And interesting, Jacob Moya touches on this a lot, that he says, see people, right? Even if you think of something kind about them is really important, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
because that always will raise your frequency.
Always.
Right. So that in itself is huge.
Frequency.
Yep. Exactly. So
what are acts of service?
So acts of service, it's like helping others, supporting others. So a lot of people, for instance, love to do charity work. They love to go and do different fundraiser stuff, right? So these are all different things that are acts of, or just doing things for someone. Like, for instance, coming home and seeing that Ashkan did the dishes, for instance, right? That's an act of service on his part that'll actually make me feel like, oh, he did the dishes or something, right? So that's just an example.
And then using words of affirmation to back that up.
Yes, we're like, oh my God, thank you so much. And actually acknowledging the fact that I noticed you did that. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. Right. And acts of service is very extrinsic, except the return is intrinsic. So we have to remember that as well. So that's another thing about acts of service.
Yes. And then
receiving gifts, my favorite.
Which, yes, I know. I feel like that's one of yours too. I remember from your birthday. I remember I just got a call and you did it. And that, okay. From your birthday when you were like, oh my God, look at this gift. I was like, oh, that's so one of hers. I remember thinking that because you were so lit up, even though it was something you bought for yourself, right?
Yeah. Every birthday I buy something.
Yeah, and same. I love, and not just birthday, but for instance, like if I get a new client or I do something that I'm like, oh my God, that happened, I go and give myself a reward. And that's buying a gift for myself, right? So that, I think that one is self-explanatory, receiving gifts.
And I think sometimes people think that receiving gifts has to be from another person, and it doesn't have to be. You can gift yourself things, right?
It's an act of self-love.
Yes, it is. So essentially, when we talk about love, and this is, again, part of the work of Louise Hay, how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself, right? Yeah. So you have to be kind to yourself and gift yourself things and use affirmation towards yourself and even acts of service towards yourself in order to be able to also turn that around and give it to your community or family or whoever.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it looks like Martin just said acknowledging people, feeling grateful is so important. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
I really always say, like, with Ashkan, whenever even the smallest things, we're very good at just saying, thank you so much for doing that. It might even be something that we've made our agreement that, like, you take out the trash and I do this, but even so, we still are always like, thank you so much for doing that, babe. That's important to, no matter what, just have that type of communication with one another.
Right.
Quality time. That actually is Ashkan's #1 love language, and I'm realizing that more and more. I definitely love quality time too. And for me, of course, you get to spend time with someone, connect with them one-on-one, create special memories and moments, go on trips, right? So that, of course, I feel like it's self-explanatory, but we forget because so many of us are so go, 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 and we got to be more conscious of that to actually create some quality time with one another, whether it is a romantic partner or if it is family and friends, because there's a connection when you're physically with one another.
Right. Physical touch is really important for the human and the human psyche.
Yes.
And, and I think part of the reason a lot of us are right now struggling at some level is because we don't really have that opportunity of a physical touch, like hugging people or just, just the simple touch of,
like good job. Yeah, whatever. Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Or high-fiving for me, for instance, in volleyball. It makes a difference for me when I can't high-five one of the girls I play with. When I can't, I'm like, I go up to them like, good job. I'm like, I can't touch you right now. So it's just interesting to see what a difference it makes when you have that physical touch. I know that romantically, that's my number one. Like without taking the quiz, like that I know is my number one when it comes to a romantic relationship. So, yeah.
So tell me, when you took this quiz, how was it helpful for you, since I've never taken it?
It made me, wait, let's see. We have a question here. What if you are all love languages? Oh yeah, absolutely. So I actually, Sarah, hi Sarah. So I actually wanted to rate them. So for me, like I said at the beginning too, like I have all of them, but I know which one is higher priority. So all of these are love, right? So you're going to have all of them, but then you can look at it. Now, I would say take the quiz. I don't know. Have you taken the quiz before, Sarah? I don't know if you have. Let us know if you have. If you haven't, definitely take the quiz. It actually will share, it'll ask you a bunch of questions and then it'll tell you the priorities, and usually the top 2 are the ones that are your main ones. What I've noticed from your question, Samar, is like I was saying, it's shifted depending on the time of my life. If, for instance, there was physical touch or words of affirmation missing, I've noticed like those are the ones that come up. I've noticed when there was not enough quality time, all of a sudden quality time became number one. And I'm like, I never thought of myself as needing quality time to that extent, right? And so what I've noticed that it always shifts. So, I love you, Sarah. She says I love you, so I'm saying I love you back. But yeah, so I've noticed that when I actually do take it regularly, like once a year or something, it's just a nice place to like look at it, like, oh, so what's happening in my love life with my partner, myself, even like with friends and everything. For me, that's what it's been great for. Now, I believe there are people that they're just very strong in one love language, and it's always just that one will stay top, and then the second one may switch up. For me, I've noticed they are always switching up. So I think with like you, Sarah, I got all 5 and it just shifts around. I know that acts of service, and even that, like I love cooking and it makes me feel good when Ashkan enjoys the food I cook. That's an act of service. So it's hard for me to say which one is my top one.
And some people with acts of service, they're more charitable in a sense.
Yes.
And their acts of service has a tendency to display itself outside of their home more. So really a little bit of this, and I bet, with the book, which now I'm going to go read the book too, because, when you said it, I was like, oh, I think I know. And then I was like, oh yeah, I know about this, but I didn't spend the time. But I bet in the book it will explain like different types of acts of service. So then it would help you identify, if you actually have it, rather than assuming you have it or you don't, right? Or assuming the prioritization of it.
It'll definitely, I feel like, make a difference. For me, like I said, I've just mainly taken the quizzes, so it's been interesting to see. Maybe one day I'll read the book. Right now, intuitively, it's a no. I have way too much on my plate.
But it's about love.
It is. But yeah,
there are a lot of great articles on this.
There's so
well, I know I've read a few articles about it.
Yeah, and I'll post this image that I found as well, because it actually talks about how to communicate, and then it says actions to take. So this image will actually display some of that. Yeah, see this one for accessors, do chores together or make them breakfast in bed. Go out of your way to help alleviate their daily workload, right? Just supporting one another by taking on some of the chores that they're maybe doing, they're supposed to do. Or
you know, one of the things that I think that sometimes we have a tendency to only associate love with romantic love. And love is so much beyond that. Romantic love is just one area of love, right? So something like this also like clarifies different types of love, and you know, and it can go really beyond what I'm imagining at this point, and this space in my life, you know.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, so this is actually, and I think right now we're in that unique situation in our lives that something like this can also bring a lot of awareness and hope and areas of what can I do to balance and bring more joy and love into my life. So it's a great guide. I mean, I spend a little bit of time today just kind of like refreshing what was already in my mind. And that's why I was like, oh, I should, you know, probably, it would be good to read this book, you know, at this point in my life. It would be, you know, it would be really good to read this book.
And then also for those that have kids too, by the way, because each kid is going to have a different love language. That's why it's awesome that there is one for kids. Like there's a quiz for kids, because I remember I had a friend and she was saying, like with the 3 different kids, she was saying each of them was completely different, and how one of them really needed a lot of the quality time. And one of them would be super excited when you did some act of service for them. And then one of the daughters was like all about hugging and kissing. And so it's really interesting, and it could make a huge difference for families that actually could see what their kids' love language is.
And we know that love is one of the most healing energy frequencies.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
So
that's what I aim for.
It's all about love. It's all about sharing.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Yes, love, and it's been proven that love, the frequency of love, it repairs DNA. Yeah, it's like, so I always aim on my sessions with clients to get them from wherever they are to love and above. That's always like, I always check throughout the session, and I'm like, my aim is love or above. That's where we get to by the end of the session. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on that.
We will talk about that.
Like, you still need to do X, Y, and Z. We have different approaches.
Anyhow, but yes, love.
That's a fun one.
This is. That's what I was like. It came to me a couple days ago. That's what I was like, I need a text tomorrow. This would be a really great one right now. Right. I feel like love is huge, and it can make a difference for everyone. So yes.
Do you have any comments on Facebook?
I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any either.
So, but yeah, if there's nothing else, thank you all so much for joining. And if you are looking to take your health and well-being to the next level, as always, we're here for you to support you and make that change for you. So reach out to us. Otherwise, till next Friday. Bye.